What does it take to quietly steal the spotlight on one of the biggest off-road channels on YouTube without ever asking for it? When Katelyn Boren first appeared on Matt's Off-Road Recovery, there wasn't some dramatic announcement. No big introduction, no hype. She was just there, focused, calm, and completely at home in the middle of mud, rocks, and chaos. But almost instantly, viewers started asking the same thing. Wait, who is she? And that's when something interesting happened. Instead of trying to dominate the screen, Katelyn did the opposite. She listened, she learned, she jumped in when it mattered, and somehow, that low-key confidence hit harder than any over-the-top personality ever could. Fans weren't just watching the recoveries anymore. They were watching her reactions, her growth, and the way she handled pressure like it was nothing. But here's what most casual viewers didn't realize. She wasn't new to this world at all. Behind that laid-back presence is a competitive rock crawler who's been driving extreme terrain since she was barely a teenager, going head-to-head with adults and holding her own. That changes how you see her. Suddenly, the calm makes sense, the confidence makes sense, and when longtime viewers started connecting those dots, Katelyn didn't just become someone on the crew, she became someone people were rooting for. So how exactly did she go from a new face in the background to one of the most talked about personalities on the channel? That's where the real story begins. The first thing people noticed wasn't something loud or dramatic. It was how comfortable Katelyn Boren looked in the middle of absolute chaos. On a channel like Matt's Off-Road Recovery, things move fast. Heavy rigs are sliding, tires are spinning, and everyone has a role to play. When a new face shows up in that environment, viewers usually brace themselves. Are they going to slow things down? Are they just there for screen time? But Katelyn didn't come in trying to prove anything. She just stepped into the rhythm like she'd already been there. And that's what caught people off guard. She wasn't forcing jokes. She wasn't talking over anyone. She listened closely, asked smart questions, and jumped in without hesitation when it mattered. That kind of presence feels rare on YouTube, where bigger personalities usually dominate. Instead of demanding attention, she earned it quietly. But here's where it gets interesting. You could tell pretty quickly she wasn't intimidated. Recoveries can get tense fast. Vehicles tipping at strange angles, tight winch lines under pressure, unpredictable terrain. Yet, she stayed steady, focused, calm. That calmness doesn't come from nowhere, and viewers could sense that. Even before knowing her background, it was obvious she had real experience behind her, and audiences love authenticity. There's something about watching someone who clearly respects the craft. She paid attention to the details. She took direction seriously. When something went right, she celebrated with the team. When something got tough, she didn't panic or freeze up. She leaned in. That balance of humility and confidence created a different kind of energy, one that didn't feel manufactured. Comments started shifting almost immediately. Instead of, "Who's that?" it became, "She's actually solid." Then it turned into people actively looking for her in new uploads. Viewers weren't just tolerating her presence, they were anticipating it. And that subtle shift from curiosity to genuine interest is exactly how fan favorites are born. But the reason she carried herself that way, that's where the story gets even deeper. There's one moment in Katelyn Boren's story that completely reframes how you see her on screen. In September 2021, during a competition, she took what was described in a sponsor spotlight as a brutal drop, around 30 feet off a ledge. The kind of fall that destroys a vehicle, the kind that makes everyone watching go silent. Her buggy was done, twisted metal, total loss, and somehow, she walked away unscathed. Think about that for a second. Most people would step back after something like that. Even experienced drivers would feel it mentally. Because in extreme rock crawling, the margin for error is tiny. You're crawling over vertical faces, balancing weight at impossible angles, trusting your line completely. When it goes wrong fast. But she didn't disappear after that crash. She rebuilt, she kept competing, she moved forward. That detail changes everything about the way viewers interpret her calmness on Matt's Off-Road Recovery. When you've already experienced a full-on cliff tumble and climbed out of it, a tense recovery doesn't hit the same way. A sideways rig or a sketchy line isn't terrifying. It's just another problem to solve. And you can feel that composure. There's no frantic energy, no overreaction, no need to prove toughness. She's already tested. That kind of quiet resilience is magnetic because it's real. It's earned the hard way. It also explains something else. She doesn't chase attention. After surviving a moment like that, clout doesn't matter. Flashy moments don't matter. What matters is execution. And audiences pick up on that authenticity almost subconsciously. They might not know the exact details of that 30-foot drop, but they can sense that she's been through something intense. That steadiness isn't manufactured for views. It's built from experience. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Surviving something like that can shape a person, but it's how they carry themselves afterward that turns survival into influence. And the way she interacts with the team is where that transformation really shows. Here's the part that flipped everything. Katelyn Boren didn't learn off-roading on camera. She didn't show up to Matt's off-road recoveries as a beginner hoping to figure it out. By the time most viewers were just discovering her, she had already been competing in extreme rock crawling for years, and not casually. She was entering competitions as a young teenager, lining up against adults who had been driving longer than she'd been alive. According to a 2021 feature by KSL, she was competing at just 14 years old, and not just participating, but genuinely holding her own. That's not backyard trail riding. That's technical, high-pressure terrain where one wrong move can destroy a rig in seconds. Suddenly, that calm energy makes a lot more sense. She started driving off-road around age 11, coached closely by her dad, Katelyn Boren, who acted as her spotter during competitions. And if you know anything about rock crawling, you know the driver-spotter relationship is everything. It's constant communication, total trust, split-second decision-making. You don't survive in that world without discipline. That background explains why she listens so closely on recoveries, why she doesn't talk over instructions, why she processes information fast. She's used to it. And here's the thing that really changes the narrative. Extreme rock crawling isn't forgiving. There's no room for ego, no space for showing off just for the sake of it. It's slow, technical, and mentally exhausting. You either stay composed or you roll. So when viewers see her standing confidently near heavy equipment or navigating tricky situations without flinching, it's not beginner's luck. It's years of repetition, failure, learning, and refinement. What looked like natural talent on YouTube was actually experience built long before the cameras were rolling. But even that competitive background doesn't tell the full story, because one moment in particular, one that could have scared anyone away from the sport, ended up defining the way she handles pressure today. And that's where things take an even more intense turn. What really sealed Katelyn Boren's rise wasn't just skill, it was how she fit into the team dynamic without disrupting it. On a channel like Matt's Off-Road Recovery, chemistry matters. Viewers aren't just watching vehicles get pulled out of sand or snow. They're watching personalities interact under pressure. And when someone new steps into that mix, it can feel forced if it's not natural. With Katelyn, it never felt forced. She didn't try to outshine anyone. She wasn't competing for attention. Instead, she blended in while still standing out. That balance is hard to pull off. She'd listen closely when instructions were given, respond confidently, and then get right back to work. No ego, no unnecessary commentary, just steady contribution. And that's exactly what audiences respect. There's a subtle confidence in the way she carries herself. When she speaks, it's measured. When she laughs, it's genuine. When something goes wrong, she doesn't. Spiral, she focuses. That consistency builds trust with viewers. They start to feel like they know what they're getting from her, and in YouTube terms, that reliability is powerful. It also helps that she comes across as coachable. Even with her competitive rock crawling background, she doesn't act like she has nothing left to learn. That humility makes her growth feel real. You can watch her improve, take on more responsibility, and get more comfortable on camera over time. And growth stories are addictive. Viewers love seeing someone evolve in real time. Every appearance feels like another chapter. Is she stepping up more? Is she taking on tougher roles? Is she becoming a permanent fixture? Those questions keep people watching. But there's another layer that amplified her popularity even more, and it had everything to do with timing. Because the channel had already gone through a shift before she became prominent. And when audiences are emotionally adjusting to change, they're especially quick to attach to someone new. Timing can turn a regular team member into a breakout favorite almost overnight. Before Katelyn Boren became a frequent face on Matt's Off-Road Recovery, the channel had already gone through a noticeable shift. When Lizzie stepped away, it wasn't just a quiet exit, it was a moment long-time viewers felt. Lizzie had grown into a strong, capable presence on the team, and her goodbye left a gap that fans didn't ignore. Whenever a familiar personality moves on, audiences don't just shrug and move forward. They start watching more closely, and that's exactly what happened. With Lizzie gone, viewers were subconsciously scanning every new upload for who might rise next. Not because the channel needed replacing, but because fans naturally latch onto growth stories. They want someone new to root for, someone to follow, someone whose journey feels like it's just beginning. So when Katelyn started appearing more consistently, the spotlight found her fast. It wasn't pushed. It wasn't announced. But the comments began shifting. People compared early appearances to later ones. They pointed out moments where she stepped up. They speculated about her role. That kind of attention doesn't happen randomly. It happens when an audience senses potential. And here's the key. She didn't try to fill Lizzie's role. She carved out her own lane, different personality, different background, different energy. That separation actually helped. Viewers weren't watching a replacement. They were watching a new chapter unfold. At the same time, her real-world credibility outside the channel, still competing, still active in the rock-crawling world, added another layer. She wasn't just part of the YouTube crew, she had her own path. That independence made her presence feel authentic rather than convenient. When you combine solid chemistry, proven experience, and perfect timing, something powerful happens. The audience doesn't just accept you, they invest in you. And once viewers are invested, even small changes, like appearing less often, can spark questions almost instantly. And that's when the internet did what it always does. As Katelyn Boren's presence on Matt's off-road recovery grew, so did the curiosity around her role. At first, it was simple questions in the comments. Was she officially part of the crew? Just helping out? Visiting? But when her appearances weren't perfectly consistent, the tone shifted from curiosity to full-on speculation. Suddenly, Reddit threads started popping up. Viewers were analyzing episodes, counting appearances, reading into small details. Some were convinced she was becoming permanent. Others wondered if she was stepping back. A few claimed inside knowledge. Most were just guessing, and that guessing created momentum. On YouTube, mystery fuels engagement. The less clarity there is, the louder the conversation becomes. A couple of commentary-style videos even centered around the idea that she had disappeared or might be leaving. No official announcement, no confirmed drama, just viewers connecting dots that may or may not have been related. But here's the interesting part. None of that speculation hurt her popularity. If anything, it amplified it. When fans start debating someone's status, it means they care. Casual viewers don't write long posts about background team members. They don't dissect screen time. That level of attention only happens when someone has become important to the audience experience. It also revealed something bigger about her appeal. She wasn't just liked, she was being tracked. Every appearance felt like an update, every absence felt noticeable. That kind of reaction usually belongs to core personalities, not occasional contributors. And through all of it, there was no public controversy, no confirmed fallout, no dramatic explanation, just normal life rhythms and filming schedules, blown up by the speed of online conversation. Which raises an important point. When someone can generate that much discussion without scandal, without foreseeable drama, and without chasing headlines, it says something about their connection with viewers. Because at that stage, she wasn't just part of the show, she was part of the reason people were tuning in. What makes Katelyn Boren's rise so interesting isn't just that she became popular, it's how she did it. There was no viral stunt, no dramatic storyline, no manufactured conflict. In a platform that often rewards chaos and controversy, she built momentum through something much quieter: credibility. Viewers trust what feels real, and with Katelyn, nothing about her presence feels exaggerated. She doesn't overperform for the camera. She doesn't try to dominate conversations. She contributes, learns, adapts, and that steady progression creates something powerful on YouTube: long-term investment. People aren't just watching her, they're watching where she's headed. That's the difference between a temporary favorite and a lasting one. Temporary favorites spike because of moments. Lasting favorites grow because of trajectory. Every time she shows up, there's this subtle question hanging in the air. What role will she take on next? More responsibility? Tougher? Recoveries? Bigger leadership moments? That curiosity keeps audiences clicking. And then there's the bigger picture. She represents a younger generation stepping confidently into a space that's traditionally been older and male-dominated. But she doesn't make it a headline. She just shows up and does the work. That quiet disruption resonates more than any speech ever could. It also helps that her life doesn't revolve solely around YouTube. She's still active in competitive rock crawling. She has her own path, her own goals. That independence makes her feel less like a character and more like a real person viewers are lucky to see a piece of. When audiences sense that someone would be just fine with or without the spotlight, it makes the spotlight hit harder. So the real reason she became a fan favorite isn't complicated. It's composure under pressure, proven skill, authentic growth, and timing that couldn't have been better. And if her story so far is any indication, the version of Katelyn viewers see now might only be the beginning.